Ako, Ferdinand E. Marcos, Lawigan ng Ilocos Honor, Pangulong Pilipinas, magbibigay katarungan
sa bawat
tao
at
itatalaga ko ang aking sarili sa paglilingkod sa bansa. Kasiyahan nawa ko ng Diyos.
The motive power for progress dwells in a combination of elements provided by the leaders of a nation and her people. The dynamics of national development gains equally from the thrust of leadership and the commitment rendered by the people. President Ferdinand E. Marcos's decision in 1972 to dismantle the structures of representative government borrowed from the West marked a watershed in the Filipinos' voyage of self-discovery. Heading off the crisis of a secessionist movement, of rebellion and economic bankruptcy, he invoked the martial law provision of the Constitution on September 21st, 1972. To lead the nation on a new political course, he launched a revolution from the center. Proclamation 1081, which embodied a program of reformation for Philippine society, was a radical and far-reaching decision by one man to recast the destiny of the Filipino people. It was not for one man. The vision of the new society needed the common man and the common will to make it a reality. National history has demonstrated its need to create a new society. The achievements of the period attracted and gained respect as a peaceful means to revolutionize society, a developmental model that is instructive for the countries of the Third World. The massive drive for the restoration of political stability and social order. Martial law, the purging of service, with a consequent enlistment of technical and administrative into government service. Reforms in national politics centered on the process of replacing the political institutions borrowed from the West with those more expressive of Filipino tradition and historic experience. The activation of 42,000 citizen assemblies called barangays draws its inspiration from the concept of the village council, which served as the basic political unit of the pre-Spanish Malay society. The barangay today, families formed in every village and city district, decide on national and local issues and are consulted by national. Barangay representatives, including youth groups, make up the Sangguniang Bayan, or local assemblies on the municipal, city, provincial, and regional. At the national level is the Batasang Pambansa, inaugurated on June 12, 1978. A national plebiscite held early in 1981, shortly after he lifted martial law, expressed support for a combination of presidential and parliamentary system, with Marcos as president and chief of state, governing with a prime minister. But the precept underlying the political evolution has remained constant, rooted for the poor as a priority. Various measures in the last 8 years have done much to revitalize Philippine economy. The National Economic and Development Authority, NEDA, supplied the development efforts with a planning vehicle, which revamped a sluggish bureaucracy and stirred it into action. NEDA centralized control and designed specific policies to spur overall growth and development, with a goal to ensure every Filipino's sustenance, to attack the causes of underdevelopment at the roots, mass poverty, and mass deprivation. The period from 1972 saw a significant redirection in the Philippine import-export pattern. And exports and traditional trading partners has given way to diversification of goods and the opening of new markets. Major economic reforms paved the way for the improvement of the investment climate. Gross domestic capital formation has grown annually since 1972 by more than 15%. The expansion of foreign investments has enabled the generation of financial resources to meet the capital requirements for growth. Economic policy has made foreign investment an instrument for progress, setting as priorities the numerous development projects designed to stimulate the economy's growth, as well as disperse industries in the rural areas, generate employment opportunities, encourage the growth of small and medium-scale industries. Recognizing the benefits of industrialization, emphasis has been laid on the development of new manufacture exports and on locating industries in various regions, especially through the creation of export processing zones. The industrialization policy has been boosted by an accelerated energy program, which includes the intensified exploration for oil and gas and other hydrocarbons, and thus confronting the problem raised by the energy crisis. New coal deposits, such as those in the island of Semirara, have yielded new possibilities for energy sources. Cagayan Valley, Bicol, Mindanao, and Samar are being tapped for geothermal sources. 8 geothermal units, or geothermal centers of energy, are now operational. 6 are being constructed. The country is now second only to the U.S. in volume of electric energy generated from geothermal sources. Construction of the biggest hydroelectric power plant has begun in Magat Isabela. Other non-conventional sources of energy, including marsh or surface gas, biomass or geothermal energy, and exotic plants such as hanga, which produces juices that can burn like gas, are being studied as alternative energy sources. At the same time, more rural households have gained access to electricity. In 1972, about 76,000 rural households were tapped onto electric power. By 1980, more than 1 million rural households were enjoying the amenities provided by electricity. Infrastructure as an index of progress is a dramatic reflection of development touching both urban and rural areas. A network of highways, bridges, and ferries link the archipelago from north to south. Feeder roads link farmlands to marketplaces. Improved port facilities have eased travel and transport by air and water. Water control systems serve the flow of progress. Dams provide hydroelectric power and make fields more productive through irrigation. No single act of the Marcos presidency has had more far-reaching impact and popular acclaim than its decision on September 26, 1972, to declare the entire country a land reform area. In that decision, he terminated the enslavement of the poor tenant farmer to a bondage of centuries by granting him ownership of the land he tilled. Ownership has not only meant a new dignity, but has also made the small farmer a productive and useful member of society. In line with agrarian reform, the president has propelled the country toward a revolution in agriculture. Self-sufficiency in rice is one shining symbol of the massive increments in agriculture and livestock production. The Marcos years have seen unprecedentedly high investments in agriculture. Irrigation schemes, adequate warehousing, price support programs, and the infusion of modern technology in the land. The continuing improvement of agriculture remains a critical goal in the nation's 10-year development program. Primary health care programs, supported by the increase in the number of hospitals, and rural health centers have improved health conditions in the country. Nutrition programs which integrate various approaches of food assistance and nutrition education have battled to overcome malnutrition among children. Non-formal education has opened up new horizons for the illiterate and out-of-school youths. To assure the steady stream of productive opportunities, the National Employment Strategy has mobilized resources to create new job opportunities through skills training and the development of labor-intensive enterprises. The program targets families at a lower 30% of the income ladder. Under the new society, the workers' purchasing power have been propped up by minimum wage legislation to help redress the effects of inflation on the working class. A new labor code was promulgated, which joined together management and labor with government in a tripartite conference for the settlement of issues, thus assuring industrial harmony to allow economic growth. The headlong rush for economic advancement did not overlook the totality of man and his felt needs. Along the political and economic revolution, the new society launched a revolution in human settlements, awakening Philippine communities to an awareness of their potential as self-sustaining units of society, aided by a concerned and caring government. In a developing country, the strategy to fulfill basic human needs approaches a life and death issue. The government has boldly dramatized commitment to its citizenry with the creation of the Ministry of Human Settlements in 1976 and the Metro Manila Commission under the leadership of Mrs. Imelda Romualdez Marcos. A program called BLISS, for Bagong Lipunan Sites and Services, has chosen the most depressed areas within each administrative region, province, city, or town as model communities to benefit 80,000 Filipino families. In Metro Manila alone, the evidence overwhelms with the magnitude of these efforts. The building boom recast the landscape in towns and cities into a dramatic profile of progress and development. These advances in the economic field have been accompanied by achievements in the other sectors. The new society has neither failed in the recognition of man's spiritual and emotional needs, in the creation of an environment to enhance the full expression of national arts and culture. To enhance the Filipinos' understanding of the national soul, museums showcase the works of painters and sculptors and preserve for posterity the heritage of centuries. The cultural renaissance, due primarily to efforts of Mrs. Marcos to popularize the arts and improve the status of the Filipino artist, combined with an upsurge in nationalism, has brought about the flowering of indigenous arts, particularly music, drama, and folk craft. The cultural center of the Philippines has served as a home to Filipino performing artists and has hosted world talents in music, dance, and theaters. A most dramatic aspect of the new society is the respected place that the Philippines has gained in the Assembly of Nations. In the past, Philippine foreign policy was viewed and in fact served merely as a reflection of the country's special relations with the United States.
Time has not yet come for you to lay down the heavy burden and responsibility of leadership in the free world, or for that matter, of the world. For by the inexorable decision of destiny, you have become the trustee of our civilization, and you cannot abandon this role, no matter what may be. How can America speak to Asia? I would say, America, speak from the depths of your own heart. Speak in the language of Jefferson. Speak with the wisdom of a Lincoln. Speak with the compassion of Roosevelt, with the vision of Kennedy, and the ringing challenge of President Johnson, when he said, "The peace that I seek is not a peace that means the absence of armed hostilities. For where men hunger and hate, there can be no peace. The peace I seek is a peace of conciliation, a conciliation of the communist states with their non-communist neighbors, between the rich nations and the poor, between the great and the small. This is the peace I seek. Can it come about In all my heart, I think it can. We have far to go. We have far to journey. Addressed in these accents, America, Asia will listen to you. And confronted with these challenges, Asia will respond.
When I went to Arlington Cemetery, it was raining, and I was reminded of the many days you would stay in a foxhole with the water up to your knees, and wondering how many boys of my age when I was a soldier were now in foxholes doing the same thing, eating and sleeping in the foxhole. And then, as I saluted the tomb of the unknown, one thought entered my mind: there, but for the grace of God, lies I. When I went to the U.S. Congress, I kept telling myself, these are hard-headed politicians. You make your appeal, but make it short and make it an objective, dispassionate appeal. But it didn't come out that way. I did feel it was a little emotional.
But the most painful feeling that I had is that which I felt when I talked to my former comrades in the war. For they scoffed at our medals and laughed at our scars. Especially one particular scar that I bear with pride. With as much pride as any decoration that has been granted me. A scar from a wound I received in attempting to save the life of an American comrade. Where is your American friend now, they asked me. He is dead, and with him have died all our dreams. Yes, he was my American comrade. And he was a blood brother, for he fought in my native land. We were surrounded, as often we were. We had to break out. And in breaking out, I saw him fall and try to crawl to safety. I returned to him only to fall beside him. The blood of Filipino and American commingling in Philippine soil. As I cradled him in my arms towards a foxhole, he said, I die. But go tell them back home, you who will live. Tell them that I die with only one regret, and that is that America has failed us. And the Filipino that I was, as if I could retrieve him with my words from the hands of death, answered him with confidence. As I said, no, America does not forget, and America will not fail. Many years have passed since then. And time should have muted the tone of confidence, and the tyranny of circumstance should have eroded this memory. But today, I still say, as I have said to my people, no, America is just. America does not forget. America will not fail us. Thank you.
In the past 8 years, President Marcos initiated the successive changes in Philippine foreign policy, which drew the country out of the shadows of America into a position of near equidistance to all global powers. The Philippines' role in creating the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, the opening of ties with the People's Republic of China, the Soviet Union, and other socialist states underlined the government's determination to present a stance on international affairs that is at once ideologically independent, yet cognizant of the realities of world politics. Even as she reached out for the friendship and cooperation of as many peoples as possible, the country has resolved to pursue a self-reliant posture in regional and international forums. Today, the Philippines speaks not only for the aspirations of the Third World, but also for global issues of international peace and development, discussing these issues and recognizing them as the very same goals pursued for the common man in the new society. The progressive thrust of government sets a chain reaction. Government programs committed to human growth allows the individual to act within his environment and area of concern. And the interaction with his fellow citizens binds self with the community, reaching out beyond himself for the greater good of the nation. It is from such individual commitment, manifested through positive action, that a nation's leaders gain strength and direction.